Professor Wergeles, we just finished the handle save method. Now we're going to look at the handle open method. So if I scroll up, you'll see a lot of the code's already written. First, when I handle open, I'm going to create person from form data. Okay, I'm going to create person from form data. So whenever I open this, I'm going to create person from form data. If I scroll down and look, create person from form data will create a person object. It's going to grab the form information. Okay, it's going to grab the form information. It's going to get the age. It's going to get the gender, and it's going to return the person. Okay, it's going to return the person object. Now, when I do that, I'm going to make sure person is not equal to null. If it's not equal to null, I'm going to check the person that's already loaded into memory to see if it's not equal to the person that's in the form, meaning they've changed the data. If they change the data, I'm going to see and confirm to make sure they want to continue. So you'll see I've confirmed continue on unsaved data. If the person does equal the one in the form, then I'm going to go ahead and continue, because that means the person that's already loaded is the same one that's in the form, and they have not changed the data. Okay, they've not changed the data. But if they have changed the data, look at this confirm. This is a great UI experience. You need to think about UI experience. What if the user accidentally closed the window? What if the user accidentally hits open and then they erase all their data? You'll want to make sure you do some confirmations, which you'll see in a lot of applications. Are you sure you want to continue? You're going to erase your data. Or are you sure you want to continue? You have unsaved data that will be destroyed and cannot be recovered. So I'll look at this confirmation. You can search for it. You can also select it, do a right click. And if I do a navigate, you can go to declaration, which is in the same file. It's just all the way down at the bottom. So you'll see here I have an alert. The title is unsaved data. The header says changes have not been saved. The message says, are you sure you want to continue? And I have a button. If the button is equal to OK, which is the user selects OK, will return true. That means they want to continue. If they click cancel or close the dialog, will return false, which means they do not want to continue. So I scroll back up to the top. This is a good UI experience. You should do this for your final project. Think about the user. Think about if they accidentally deleted their information. They'd be upset. They'd be tired of using your app. You want your app to be user-friendly, and you want to take care of your user to make sure they're happy and they continue using your application. So if they want to continue, or if there's no data that's different, so meaning they haven't altered the data yet, we'll continue. If they say no, this will return false, and we're negating false. So if they say, I do not want to continue, then this will negate it, which will be true, and then this will return. So I won't even open the file. But if they want to continue, or if they haven't changed the data, a file chooser will show up on the stage, and then I'm going to have a file reader. I don't need any special stream reader or object serialization reader, because this is just a string. So I can use a regular file reader, which has a buffered reader, and I read line by line. So you see I have JSON string, which is the overall result, and I have a string, which is each individual line. You can imagine if this object were huge. I have 100 lines. I'm going to read line by line, add it to the JSON string. I'm doing a plus equals. This is not very efficient, but it's simple. Okay, it's easy to understand. I'm adding each line to the JSON string. Although this isn't efficient, it's easy to understand. It'd be better to use a string builder and then do an append, which would be much quicker. But for simplicity, and since we're not in a job interview, we can do the plus equals. If you're doing a job interview, go over the plus equals for string. You'll see why that's not very efficient. Okay, because it creates a string over and over again instead of simply adding it to the end of the string. Then make sure you close the files. So we'll close the buffer reader. We'll close the file reader. These are important. If you leave these open, you'll have a memory leak. Once that's closed, we've read in the file, and now the JSON string is stored into the final result called JSON. So what we can do is on our person object, we have the method that we built, init person from JSON string, and the JSON string will be the JSON result. Okay, it's going to include all the lines added to the JSON string. This will be the final result. We're going to take this JSON string and put it back into the person object. Once we have the object, we can do fill form from person, which is what we did before. So there's only one extra step in this example. We need to take the JSON string, put it back into person. Once we have person, we can fill back in the form information. So if I right click to navigate, go to declaration, you'll see I take a person object, make sure it's not equal to null. I grab the first name and set the text on the text field. I grab the last name, set the text on the text field. I grab the age, convert it back to a string and set the text. And I get the gender and set the value of the combo box. Okay, so now I just deserialize the JSON string. So to serialize it, it's easy. Simply just output the string to the file. To deserialize it, it's easy. Read line by line, store it to a string, parse the string back to a JSON object, take the JSON object, put it back to a person. And then once we have the person object, we can fill in the form data. So if I save this and run it, let's see if it works. Here's my app. You'll see there's no information. If I click File, Open, I can open up my JSON, okay, which we looked at earlier. If I open this up, boom, fills in all the information. Look how pretty that is. Okay, so not only am I using a good format that's human readable and it's commonly used throughout the industry, I'm also handling the save and load data. That way the user can resume where they left off. I still have my about section. Okay, this is the minimum you should do for an about section. I've seen some really cool about sections where they actually have their own scene for it. And we can serialize and deserialize files. So now let's say I change some of the data. Okay, and now I say I do file open. Look at this. It noticed that the data has been modified. It says changes have not been saved. Are you sure you want to continue? If I click on OK, load JSON again, I remove the data that I modified. Okay, but it's nice to let the user know they're about to override their data. And we could do this as well on the stage close. We're going to take a look at that in the next video. So stick with Professor Wergeles, and we'll see you in the next video.